Start by chopping up 2 medium-sized yellow onions. Cut your onions down the middle and then dice or do whatever that is to get your onion into little pieces that are all about the same size. Next is garlic. I don't really measure my garlic in any meaningful way. I just kind of put in however much feels right, which is usually more than a recipe will recommend. Your mileage may vary. Do whatever you like. I think in this particular instance I had about 6 cloves in there. Next up is spices. I'm starting with a teaspoon of oregano that I'm crushing up just to get it into slightly smaller pieces. Next up is a teaspoon of ground allspice, a few shakes of harissa, I just eyeball this one, 2 tablespoons of cumin, 2 tablespoons of chili powder. Then I eyeball about 1.5 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder, and I mix it all together. I don't do salt at this stage, I prefer to season it to taste later on. Sauté your onions in a neutral oil. I used avocado oil. Stir them until they've got some color on them, and once they've started to go a little bit translucent, add your garlic and 2 pounds of ground beef, and then use a wooden spoon to start mashing and scraping to get all the meat broken up into smaller chunks. I like that this wooden spoon is flat on the end. It really helps me chop up the meat into smaller pieces. At this point, the meat is that weird grayish color. That means it's cooked. Maybe it's time to add the spices. I don't think so. We're going to keep going. Even pre-quarantine, I watched a ton of cooking videos on YouTube, and one particular thing that has stuck with me is from Adam Ragusia's video on his bolognese sauce. Basically, once the water in the beef is evaporated, the beef will start to fry in its own fat. It'll get a darker, more brown color and start to smell incredible. You can do this with literally any dish that uses a ground meat. It takes a little bit of extra time and work, but it is totally worth it. The meat has started to turn from gray to brown, and you might think that we are finally putting the spices in, but no, we're going to wait a little bit longer because the color can go dark or stale, and we will push this until it is just about to burn. You can see on the bottom right that it's getting dangerously close to burning, so now it's finally time to put the spices in. Move quickly here because the pan is already super hot, and you're not going to want to burn your spices or any of the stuff that is already close to burning. So mix that up as thoroughly as you can, as quickly as you can. Put in a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, a 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, and then 3 cups of chicken stock. Mix that all together and start to scrape the bottom to make sure nothing gets stuck there. Once you've stirred and scraped to the absolute best of your abilities and there's no more meat stuck to the bottom of the pan, the time has finally come to reduce your heat to a simmer and just let this cook. The longer it cooks, the better it will taste. Here it is about 45 minutes into cooking. I usually start this around 3 o'clock. I started at 5, so I was late today. But just let this cook for as long as you possibly can, stirring every 15 minutes or so. Here it is about 1.5 hours after that. Now you know how to make chocolate chili. Go forth and conquer.